Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillahi wahda. Wassalatu wassalamu ala nabiyyina ba'da. Alhamdulillah. It's been a pleasure to see all of you here. When I rewind myself a few years back, I was in this seat and trying to figure out what should I do after my degree and during my MBBS. So when Profcon is very close to my heart, because I think a lot of my basics have been developed working with Profcon, and more than working with Profcon, the pre-event, I'm sure which you have all gone through, the pre-event of getting Profcon organized. So I was in a campus in Mysore where we've extensively worked in campus, getting people organized for Profcon. Now I realized that by knowingly or unknowingly, these things get embedded in your gene, and what it gives to all the students are, the moment you get derailed, it pulls you back on the track. And this is reflected not only here, where even when you get onto the work, you see that you've been pulled onto the rail when you get deviated from the normal path of Allah. So topic assigned to me is future of healthcare. I can go on and on this, but I don't know how far it will be useful for this crowd. So what I thought was, I'll just go through a brief of my presentation and I'll leave the topic to you so that you can ask me questions which is relevant. So if you look at future of healthcare, frankly speaking, there is no healthcare which is practiced now. Currently what is happening is a sick care. So when do you go to hospital? You go to hospital when you're sick, right? So it's basically more of a reactive approach. You have a chest pain, you go to hospital. You have a stroke, you go to hospital. You have an abdominal pain, you go to hospital. So current practice of healthcare is more of a sick care and not in healthcare as such. So the world is undergoing a change wherein the healthcare is going to be proper healthcare than a sick care. And look at your diagnosis, whatever you do. You do ECGs, you do blood sampling, but how reliable are that? And even these data which you collect is a single instant presentation. To give you an example, there's something called white coat hypertension. So these are conditions wherein patients, when they come to doctors, their BP shoots up. Or when they see white coat, their BP shoots up. So how are you going to treat this patient? By looking at that BP reading. So what I'm trying to tell you is, to go back to my slides, these investigations what you have right now, it may not be, I'm not telling it is not, may not be a true representation of what you are. So, and look at the existing medical facility. If you want to go to meet a doctor, it's at least a half a day or a one-day program. So there's a long time time to get in an appointment, and once you get an appointment, again wait for a long time to see a doctor, and once you see a doctor, then again he gives you some tests, you go back to the lab, and again wait for a long time to review the report. In today's world, I don't think it is acceptable. So, and look at all the healthcare facility now. Even the best of healthcare facility, they still have things on paper. So now, you go to some place for a visit, and then suddenly if you fall sick, people don't know what you are made up of, right? They don't know your genome. They don't know your history. So it's in a total mess. Now, if you compare healthcare to other industries, for example, this is 10 years back how banking was looking like. Now, I'm sure everybody of you have mobile and you bank through your mobile and you hardly go to the bank. But look at our medical colleges when I was studying and now. See, only the lighting has changed and even the bed sheet has changed and bed has changed. But it all looks the same. It's all in paper. That time and still in paper, and it's continued to be in paper. So what I'm trying to tell you is there is a huge opportunity which is coming back. See, now the banking has gone a long leap in this 10 years, but medicine is just getting into it. If I can just get you into it, like I was just trying to put the revolution of the medicine. So the revolution era of one, which I would say era of incidental discoveries. So in 1900s, there are a lot of people dying because of infection. Infection was the cause for death. War-wounded soldiers, plague was rampant, cholera was rampant, people was dying day in and day out. And then there was discovery of antibiotics. The antibiotics have really changed the world. And then comes the next revolution of medicine, the era of serendipity, wherein some of the medicines were discovered by accidents. That's your immunosuppressants, statins, and chemotherapy of today's world. But now, the era of technology is going to come in 21st century. This is going to be all about big data, machine learning, deep learning, and things are going to completely change in the field of medicine. So all those, I'm really aware that this is for the students. And the real change which is going to happen is in terms of technology. I would say marrying technology with the medicine. So if I go back to the slide of mine, so what I was telling you is, now the medicine is all reactive. That means you have a chest pain, you go back to the hospital. Now the thing is going to change into proactive. So all your wearable devices, all your mobile phones can detect what you are. For example, if I can, I'm sure there are a lot of medical students, medical related students at least, nursing, medicine. Can I just have your hands up in technology? Okay. So now what's going to happen now is, see, if you know about your brain, your stroke and brain. So brain tissue and heart tissue, these are given blood, and the moment the blood supply to these brain tissue and heart tissue goes down, you get something like stroke and heart attacks, right? But the time when the symptom appears and when the time the things have started, there is a long time gap. For example, your brain is being supplied by a lot of blood vessels. So there may be chances that these blood vessels get blocked. So if the block is happening today, you get a result of symptom of the stroke, say maybe 1 week, 1 month. So there is a huge gap between the time when it is developed till the symptom is being manifested. So now there are going to be devices who are going to detect your blood supply much before the symptom appears. Your wearables are going to detect. I think Apple has come up with a watch which shows about ECG. So now these ECGs are connected to a central monitor system. So now how the future medicine is going to be is like you will have wearables. For example, we'll put an Apple Watch which can detect your ECGs. Now that's going to detect your day-to-day ECG and then send back into your data center wherein they're going to monitor you, and then long before you develop something, they detect a variation there, variation into your blood supply, and they inform the ICE, that is your in case of emergency number, the doctor next to you or a hospital which you are attached to. So technology is going to play a very big change in this. So now what has happened to Uber? So Uber is a more than $20 billion company. So now if you look at Uber, they didn't discover a mobile, they didn't invent a mobile, they're not the one who brought in the newest mobiles, they're not the one who brought GPRS, they're not the one who made Google Maps. What they did was they brought in a platform wherein all this technology could merge. So when this technology could merge in one platform, and then what happened? It disrupted other industries, right? You had a lot of strikes because of Uber coming in. So this disruption in technology, this technologies are going to disrupt different things, and that's going to happen in medicine. So when you get into it in the initial phase, that's where your success is. So when I was a student, medical student, a lot of my contemporaries, they were doing programming. So they were getting into all NIITs and things, and they were learning programming. So that was the initial time of programming. So now they are in US and UK in big posts. So now who learns programming? So even if you learn programming, you reach nowhere. So it is this right time, the platform is ready to marry between medicine and technology. So now there is a Uberification of healthcare which is going to come. So you need not spend a half a day to meet your doctor. It's all going to be a click away. Either the doctor comes in front of your door, or you get the doctor on the screen and you discuss your medical problems. So that's the change which is going to happen. It's already happening. It will soon reflect in us. So now people talk about big data, nanotechnology, synthetic biology, robotics and artificial intelligence and machine learning. But the key thing is converging everything together. So whoever converges together, that's the future of medicine. So now, if you really look at medicine, right? So how is, those pharma people will tell you better, how is drug come into the market? So then the initial, I was just going through the slide which he was presenting about how drug is going to come into the market. They invented drug, they do animal trials. Once the animal trials have been successful, they do a human trial. So now when I say a human trial, they give a drug to the 100 people. So out of this 100 people, maybe 80 or more than 90% of people respond to it. So they say the trial is successful, and that's been given to all of us. Now, what if you are among this 10? That means your cytochrome P450, which is going to metabolize this drug, does not act. So that's the reason why you say, no, I was having this drug, but there's no action. So now things are going to change, wherein they're going to look at your genomes. A drop of blood will give you exact pattern of what you are, what you're made of. And this genomes, and they'll detect, okay, what drug will affect you much better. So you won't have an maybe 10 years down the line, you won't have an over-the-counter line and generic drugs. You'll have a precise, personalized medications, so that you don't have to take 1,000 grams of paracetamol for your fever to come down. And it will be preventive and participatory. Now what happens is there is no participation in your treatment. And most of our treatment are one way. See, it's doctor is the king of the game. Now that's going to change, and the patient is going to be the king of the game. So before that, I would just like to, my video is there. Can you show the video? I would like to just show you a video of how the future of medicine is going to be. Okay, till they get connected, I would like to say that, see, now let me just slightly deviate from this topic, and then, so when we as medicos and technologists and engineers, so we come here. Okay, so let me just not waste your time. So being in a noble profession of medicine or engineering or technology, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us the opportunity to learn. You look at the number of people outside us. Look at our contemporaries who were with us in the college. Now they don't have the opportunity to get into a medical college or an engineering college. So our mission statement should be Surah Al-Ma'idah, chapter number 5, verse number 32, wherein Allah says, if you save one life, it's equaling to saving the entire human life. So that should be our base. That should be our mission statement. Whether you are an engineer, whether you are a technologist, or whether you are an MBBS student or a nursing. So to save a life, you need not be a doctor. You need not be a nurse. But anything which, even in terms of management, any of your knowledge, any of your act, if that can save a life, or if that can give comfort to a patient, voluntarily or involuntarily, that's going to really help us to build and grow. Otherwise, I think you play, I can do the talking of it. So this is just, can you just come, pause and, yeah. This is just a slide which says how the future is going to look like. It would have been good if you can have this, yeah. Okay, so this is a family. Kid is having some skin rash. Now what they're doing is they're doing a small device and looking at the rash. Now this rash has been put into the database, and then they found that this database goes to varicella, that is your chicken pox, and they say rest at home, no problem. Now this is a lady who's checking her mail. Suddenly she gets an alert, whooping cough in the area, and then she looks at the database and say, you need to have your booster dose ready, because it has been linked to your electronic medical records. And then there's another issue where parents are worried because child is having a fever. So they look at the temperature is high. Then they said, okay, some tick boxes, cough is not there, this is not there. Then they said, okay, check the urine is put on this. And then again connected to your phone. Then say, okay, urinary tract infection, you need to go to the hospital. So that automatically gets connected to your nearby hospital. And then they proceed to the hospital. And then you will have your wearable devices. See, you can see a small sticker put there, like your barcode. So that's going to give you your dashboards, you know. This is a company called Scandu. So I think you can just note the Scandu and then start. It's a beautiful video. So you can just put Scandu and just check it in the YouTube. So you'll get more of this. So you will have your dashboards. For example, like you have your operational dashboards, you will have, okay, your exercise is so much today, your calorie intake is so much today. And these things are happening. This is not future. So, but there is much more happening between the marriage between technology and science. Now the forum, I think it's open for question. I didn't go in detail because each of topic I can talk in detail, but I don't know how far of it will be useful. So any questions from your side to understand? Yeah. So I'll be answering question to my knowledge because, yeah.
So as you said this, in this 21st century, we are applying machine learning and deep learning systems to this medical field. So these systems are actually needed some data to be trained. So regarding this medical field, the data is not publicly available. So I'm a computer science student. So even if
you're a
computer science student.
Okay, good. Yeah.
So even if I had an idea about creating something like this, the data is not publicly available. And how can I come into that? How is that possible to get that data? We need high quality data, not low quality data for this kind of systems. And my second question is, you work in a prominent institution, and you also rely on this technology. So the institution also using this kind of technology, machine learning. And what are the things you have done to encourage this professional to do this kind of technologies? The video that has shown many technologies. So what are the things that you're encouraging these professional students to do this kind of technology, to implement this kind of ideas?
The first question is a very interesting question about data. So when I come to data, see, one of the biggest problem with medicine, like what you said, is data. So now for your machine learning, for your artificial intelligence, the food for it is data. And it is like garbage in, garbage out. So if you look at artificial intelligence, it's like a small kid. You teach them good, they become good kids. You teach them bad, they become bad kids. So we are in a conversation with Alibaba, and we are in conversation with Fuji. So the reason why they are looking at us is we are an Indian company. When you say about Indian company, they're looking at us. They're looking at our data. So now, like what you have, they say data is new oil. And I would say data is not new oil. The data is new water. So the importance of data is so high. So one of the major chunk and major problem which the medical field is facing now is no organized data. But with this electronic medical records and hospital information system coming in place, there are a lot of data getting gathered. So to give you a few, we're working with, I'm personally working with Alibaba and with Fuji on to recognizing this chest nodules. So now what we have identified is, so my principle, again, I come to my mission statement. So whatever we do, if our mission is correct, that is, if I can do something, and if that saves a life anywhere, that's equivalent to saving the entire human race. So what we have done is, we have shared our data. Now, see, if I say, okay, if I share this data, will I am losing my business? So if I have a broader perspective, if I give this data, if somebody anywhere in the world gets utilized, that's my success. So now, we shared a lot of our data with them, and they started using this, and then you won't believe the precision what they make. So what they've done is, there's a machine learning, and then the data what we have, for example, lung nodules. So they say, okay, this lung nodule in this figure means this. So this has been fed to the computer, and with the database what we have here, we've been mapping it with that. Then they've made algorithms based on that, and then algorithm based learning has been made out of it. So now Fuji, we are working with an Alibaba. They themselves have big data, because China is again a big market for data. So again, yes, what you said is correct. It's a big challenge on this, but then things are changing. That's the reason why, unlike banking, wherein their data was strong, that's why they could leap in 10 years. Now, medical field, the collection of data was a problem. That's the reason why they're taking time to ramp up. But I think with HIS, now you'll see the ramping up in no time. And if you can, again, IT people and engineering people are the people who will come in forefront than the medical students in next year. To answer your next question, what do we do? See, like what we are doing is we are going to campuses, looking at young brains what we look at it is two things. Number one is people with good attitude. And I keep telling people, if you have a good attitude, that is the way you reach the biggest altitudes. So we grabbing people, making to sit in some places and getting coached by these international figures like Alibaba and Fuji, because they have huge fund kept for this, and then getting some products out like this.
Assalamualaikum, sir. I'm asking from the Malabar point of view. There are some, for a doctor, there are some type of patients, especially in the Malabar perspective. those who are they have a stigma against the automation of medical investigations, because especially the older generations, because they are not, they don't take the automative technologies introduced in medicine so positively. On the other hand, those who are a bit tech savvy, they overwhelm the doctors or the medical professionals with their technical knowledge. For example, the Google medicine, they Google everything for their medical doubts, and they come to the doctor and they overwhelm the doctors. So as a doctor, how can we, or as a medical professional, how can we meet this challenge? Because there are some portion of our patients who don't accept the medical innovations, whereas some others, they are overwhelming us with the technological.
To answer your question, the best example was our introduction of computer in our railway reservations. So when computer came in railway reservation, there was a big strike going on here, telling them that computer coming in here we'll lose our job, we'll lose that, we'll lose this. So, but then what happened in future? Slowly people get adapted. So our mindset is different. So definitely this will be there. To answer your second thing, right? So as a doctor, what we need to do is, trust factor is very important. So no doubt, this field is a bit corrupted. Right now, it's a bit corrupted. You can't blame. So it is very important to have trust with the patient. So once you develop that trust, then whatever you say, they'll be able to take it. And then we'll need to practice evidence-based medicine. Rather than just practicing medicine, because my 10 years, I've seen all those TVs and I've done X-rays. So what does the evidence say? What does the literature say? You may have to go by that. And then if you practice an evidence-based medicine, and if you develop more than evidence-based, you may talk about evidence-based medicine, you may talk about a lot of technologies, but if you don't develop that trust with your patients, nothing works out. So first thing what we need to work out is to develop that trust. And then, see, as a human being, and especially as a Muslim, we are responsible, right? I'm sure if you are a good Muslim, you'll be compelled to become a good doctor. And I'm sure you will not be writing any investigation which is not needed. So when you do that, then you know that you will be answerable for tomorrow. So I think if you have developed the trust, there you are.
Sir, abroad there have been privacy concerns about situations like this, where big data collection is a big issue. So how does anyone in the industry plan to?
I understand your question. It's about privacy. It is much debated in US and not here, because US is mainly insurance-driven market. So now when insurance gets the data of the entire person, then they'll know which premium to sell it. So privacy is another big concern, but to subcontinents like Indian subcontinent, China subcontinent, privacy is not that matters much. For example, even for employment. But that's going to come as future. Even though we think that you will hide, you will not be able to hide. So in future, everything will be open for everyone. So the moment an employer employs you, he'll know your entire data. What are you good at? I mean, what's your gene made of? Are you probability of you having a cancer in another 5 years? So should I invest so much on this employee? So that's a big concern which has been questioned and debated. But I think there are regulations. If you really look at it, Saudi has come up with strict regulations on data, on electronic medical records. UAE is coming up, but I think in the world, one of the best EMR regulations are made by Saudi. So they are coming up with data and regulations, but then unless and until this data goes out, things can't change. So it's a question of chicken and egg. So you keep debating, but there's no answer for it.
Assalamu alaikum. I hear about the now hospital is changing into wellness hospital. I want to please explain that. What's the means of wellness hospital?
So it is, again, if you really look at Japanese, I'm just giving you an example of Japanese. Japanese are prone for stomach cancers. So what they do is, anyone after 40, they undergo a lot of endoscopies in a periodic basis to understand whether am I prone to get stomach cancer, so that they detect early and they treat early. So now, if you look at a government setup, wherein if your entire money of the treatment is on government's hand, like in US or any other place where if the government is owning it. For example, we'll just take a UAE scenario wherein if all the Emiratis are being treated by the government. Now, if I talk pure down on the revenue perspective, so if this citizen gets stomach cancer, the amount of money the government has to spend vis-a-vis how much money government has to spend on wellness or checking the endoscopy periodically and make sure that the productivity of the individual increases and the patient remains healthy. So things are changing, but here again, again evidence based, but then the moment that's been put to a public, like in India, people will think, okay, this is the area wherein they are trying to make more money. So again, I will come back to that factor of trust. So unless and until you don't build trust, it becomes very difficult. So there is a lot of evidence that you need to undergo certain screening tests. That's why, breast cancer screening has come up in a big way. The moment if self-examination, if you can detect a breast lump early and if it treated, the amount of the life expectancy or the chance to recover is much higher as compared to them being detected very late. So what happens is all these things get detected very late. And if you have a strong family history for a colon cancer, stomach cancer, breast cancer, you need to really be looking. I'm just giving you one example of, I'm sure, I don't know whether you know about Angelina Jolie. She's a celebrity. She was diagnosed to have a BRCA1. BRCA1 is, BRCA1 is a gene which on mutation causes breast cancers. So she identified that she has got BRCA1 mutation and BRCA2 mutation. So now she knows that her probability to get breast cancer is very high. Her mother had a breast cancer, her aunt has a breast cancer. So what she did was, even before getting into that stage, at her 30 or 32, she got both her breasts removed. And she has started doing a periodic check. So this was a revolution of medicine, they say. So proactively thinking of what is going to happen and then treat them proactively. So now her probability of getting cancer with BRCA1 mutation, BRCA2 mutation, with a strong family history was somewhere around 80%. So she said, okay, why should I go to that 80% and suffer? Rather, get my breast removed much in advance. So wellness is a thing, but again, it all depends on how you pitch in, especially in India.